I mean, I'm a woman, I can't fight men. But for me to just walk out like I'm going out and then you lock it, no, I'm not going to do that.
They wanted to lock your office?
Well, for them, they are just saying that the investigations are not over. And until the Attorney General gives advice. Yes, that's what they are saying. And then what?
How are you define that?
I'm not defining any second thing. What I'm saying is that in law, the principle of law, if a matter is before a circuit court and a superior court sees, it sees with that same matter, automatically the one in the lower court lies flat. Yes, so now if I'm in office, what am I impeding? Because they've already taken all the documents, blah, 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 and done all the investigations and had sent their report to the AG. So what am I here to do by way of impeding investigation?
You come back tomorrow and then your office is under lock.
I'll break into it. I will break into it if that happens.
You are destroying public property?
I'm not destroying public property. What is it about? What is it about it? Now the Chief Justice Committee, a whole Chief Justice Committee chaired by a Supreme Court judge, it says with the matter. So what is EOCO?
Is the Supreme Court Committee comfortable with you coming to investigation?
That is what I'm saying, because the matter before the Supreme Court or the Chief Justice Committee is a matter affecting all the three commissioners, all the three executive commissioners. So what myself and my lawyers are saying is that, okay, is the president who is close with that authority to write to us to go home for investigations to continue. So I'm back here. If the president writes that we should go home, why not?
So, Madam Judge Opoku-Amankwa is a deputy chairperson of Ghana's Electoral Commission. And we know that the two deputy chairs, as well as the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Madam Charlotte Osei, and some investigation with a committee constituted by the Chief Justice. And so that committee is sitting currently. We're not saying that we're sitting today, though, but having their work going on. But this has had a lot of tongues wagging, and the discussion platforms, not only on social media, but the mainstream media as well as our personal handles, have been very busy over the last 12 hours. And we brought in a legal practitioner to also help us do the discussions. Abraham Amalaba is a regular on the show, and his personality also brings a lot to bear on many of these discussions. Good morning to you, AB.
Good morning.
And when you started hearing this, I'm told that was on live TV as well. What came to mind as somebody who practices law in the first place?
Let me say good morning to your viewers. When I heard all this, what came to mind was that, look, once again, state institutions are beginning to visit lawlessness on innocent citizens. In the first place, it was wrong for the EOCO to ask the EC Deputy Commissioner to proceed on whatever it was. Is it to what did they say? Proceed on leave? Or was it this, did they suspend her? In fact, under the Constitution, the Deputy Commissioners are equivalent to High Court judges. And then the Commissioner herself is equivalent to the Court of Appeal judge. Now, the mode of removal, discipline, suspension is guided by the mode by which judges are disciplined. So just as our EOCO couldn't have gone to the Supreme Court or any of the high courts and asked a judge to proceed on leave or to be suspended, so is it that they can't do that to any of the commissioners. So in the first place, it was wrong for the EOCO to ask them to go, to ask the woman to go on the suspension or whatever it is. Yes, they could investigate, but the power to say, step aside, I think that's the right word, step aside once we investigate, did not exist in the first place. And the EOCO had gotten it wrong. And so, for us to get to where we got to yesterday, where the Deputy Commissioner had to, as it were, virtually break into her own office because she had been given legal advice by her lawyer that what the EOCO did was wrong, is to say clearly that it appears EOCO do not know the limits of their mandate. I think that if EOCO knows exactly what they have to do, they should go to court and ask for a court order if they so wish. In the absence of that, EOCO simply has no capacity to do what they did. Indeed, the president cannot even ask them, the EC commissioners, to step aside unless there is a petition pending. So the president himself cannot get up one day and say, I want Charlotte Osei to step aside. No, unless there is a petition. And so it is not as if EOCO has that mandate to even ask the deputy commissioner to step aside. I am of the view that this plays into the grand scheme. This plays into the grand scheme of the government's attempt, because you cannot divorce the government from this. These are state institutions. And I'm sure when EOCO were doing all these things that they were doing and then sent policemen to the office, I'm sure somebody in the State House was aware. And I think that it plays into the grand scheme of the MPP's attempt, the government's attempt to want to, as it were, remove the EC commissioners. I do not think that the EOCO, knowing their mandate, would have done this without tacit support from state institutions, or for that matter, from the big house.
Now you made mention that it's only the president through a petition.
Sure.
Now we know that prior to where the committee is and sitting currently and constituted, there was a petition. So once the petition leaves the presidency, now forwarded to the Chief Justice, and the Chief Justice has taken this action, it means that the president has no grounds now, or will have no grounds now to remove them.
No, he still has. Indeed, the president, while the petition is ongoing or is about to commence, can ask any of them to step aside. So once there's a petition as a foundation, and the petition is being heard at any point in time, even before it is heard, during the hearing, the president still has the capacity to ask them to step aside. So it's only the president now who can make that order. I don't think EOCO has that power at all. I am disappointed at the lawyer for the deputy commissioner who agreed with the police that, okay, my client will go home for 14 days, and if we don't hear anything, 14 days will come back. I am disappointed because he himself is perpetuating wrongdoing. I am of the view that the lawyer should have stood on his grounds to say it is illegal, it is wrong, you don't have the power to do so. But now that they've reached such an agreement, I think that he has compromised his client's interest. And I think that I am disappointed in the lawyer for allowing that to happen. I heard him yesterday say that, oh, they just want sleeping dogs to lie. I think that in the best interest of his client, he should have stood on his grounds and say, no, EOCO, you have no powers to do what you did. We are going back to work until the appropriate authority sends the lady home and suspends her or asks her to step aside. EOCO has no such power at all.
Well, now let's watch the lawyer for Georgina Opoku-Amankwah, the deputy chair of the Electoral Commission, who was asked to go home in the meantime. I believe for 2 weeks, I believe.
Meeting with the director of EOCO, what we have finally agreed is that we give them a very short time within which to come up with their results. They actually asked for a very short time from us, which we have obliged them. So as it is now, we'll be waiting within a very short time for them to get back to us. 2 days, 4 days? Let's say barely, let's say more than 14 days. Not more than 14 days.
So when they are getting back to you to do what, on what?
Yes, they said they conducted an investigation, so we'd have to see the outcome of the investigations.
But we have been told that the investigation has been forwarded to the AG's department, and so within the short time you're talking about, is she going to be on leave, or she's going to be at
what we have agreed is that for now she would have to stay out for some time, and then after the less than 14 days, as I said, whether the results are the investigation report is in or not, we'll still proceed to work.
So that's his position and what they agreed with the EOCO and the security apparatus that were present at the place. So
but don't forget that this ultimatum was given by the deputy commissioner, that in 14 days' time, if I don't hear anything from you, okay, I would come back.
So just a compromise.
What does it tell us? It tells us the lack of confidence in EOCO. It tells us that we have a situation where somebody who is supposed to be under investigation is rather giving the institution that is to investigate ultimatums. So it simply tells us that there is some breakdown of authority coming from EOCO. Okay. And that is why an accused or a suspect can even give ultimatum to state institutions such as EOCO, and EOCO is taking it. Now, and so it is problematic, but clearly EOCO has no power to do what it did.
What EOCO said it was investigating, and I'm told there is some financial malfeasance or perhaps underhand dealings of the commission. Was that different from what was inherent in the petition and for which the committee was set up? I
know initially, and don't forget that this commenced before the petition. Now, initially, the issue that EOCO was handling, I'm sure that's still what they are handling, was misappropriation of the Provident Fund of the EC. And I think that she somehow has oversight responsibility over that fund. So that is what was sent to EOCO for investigations. EOCO is seized with authority to do so, to investigate. Some of us have even questioned EOCO's authority to do some of this investigation because your name is Economic and Organized Crime. You know? So how is this an organized crime? Economic and organized crime. They are conjunctive and conjunctive. It's not economic or organized crime. So the crime that EOCO would have to investigate, that falls under its remit, is a crime which is economic and organized. So organized crime could be
money laundering.
Money laundering, that you have collaborators outside the jurisdiction. Child trafficking. You have some who start the offense here, but it ends in another country. There's some organization. But if I issue a DAD check, and you write a check which goes to the bank and it's bounced, and you invite me to EOCO, that is overstepping their bounds. How is my issuance of a check amount to an organized crime? Who and who did I organize with? You get the point? So EOCO is delving into areas that it has no mandate, and people are not talking. It is only when you are the victim that you begin to talk. So that was what was sent to EOCO, Provident Fund. I've not had the opportunity of looking at the petition against her, but from what she is saying, if it is right, that look, she gave a scenario. If the Supreme Court, if the lower court is handling a matter and the matter is sent to the Supreme Court, then that of the lower court falls flat. I think she has a point there. Now that the matter is within the ambit of the Supreme Court, I think that EOCO should stay its hands off. First and foremost, EOCO has overstepped its bounds by asking the lady to go home when EOCO had no power to do so. Secondly, now, if these are the same matters that are before the Supreme Court, my advice to EOCO, and I don't know whether the big man there is a lawyer, my advice to EOCO is to stay their hands off and allow the Supreme Court to deal with this matter. What
precedent does it set?
Well, it would give us a situation where there may be conflicting results. Because if EOCO reaches a certain conclusion, if the two institutions, the Supreme Court, the committee's work, by the CS committee's work is ongoing, EOCO too is ongoing, chances are that it may give us conflicting results.
Outcomes.
EOCO may say something, the court may also say something else, the committee. And we don't want state institutions to be speaking across purposes.
Well, we have to take a break. When we come back, we'll be having in the studio Reverend Intim Fojo. He is a member of Parliament for Assin Central. We'll be right back. And Reverend Intim Fojo is here. He's a member of Parliament for Assin South. Thanks for joining me, Rev.
Thank you.
All right, and we have to move on. You were not here, so we're discussing EOCO imploding as they invaded the premises of the Electoral Commission to move out Madam Georgina Opoku-Amankwah, who is the Deputy EC Chair. But let's move on. We're told that the committee sitting on
a little bit
the cash.
On that, if
you wanted to have somebody. You let me just introduce the committee that's sitting on the expert issue, the cash for seats scandal, and the president of the Millennium Excellence Foundation, Ashim Morton, yesterday took his turn at the Parliamentary Special Committee hearing and categorically debunked allegations that expatriate businesses paid money in order to gain access to the president at the Ghana Expatriate Business Awards. We know that it was convened on December 8th, I believe, 2017, even though we're told it's December 4 here. Anyway, so
good morning once again, and good morning to Mr. Maliba, and good morning to our esteemed viewers. In respect of the EOCO issue and the matters arising, it's important that I signal this appeal to EOCO that they come out to explain the premise on which that action was taken. They maintain that they have some lawful and legitimate grounds for which that action was taken.
What do you think?
However, I think that they must be circumspect in the manner that they exercise that premise, and in so doing to explain the legitimate and lawful reasons and grounds for which that was done. Considering the entangled situation with the Electoral Commission and the fact that the petition in respect of same is pending hearing, it's important that we refrain from acts that may seem to take the fairness away from the whole process. But in so saying, it is important to debunk the avoidable propaganda which has been going on, and I think it's immature for one to rope in MPP and the government interference in this matter.
Well, EOCO is a state institution.
We recall, and I'm making my point here, that we recall that the accusations and counter-accusations that have brought the Electoral Commission to the point that it is today, and the relational challenges that have challenged the leadership of the Electoral Commission, the counter-accusation and accusations specifically did not involve any MPP member, did not involve any party from the government. It was among the three, mainly among the three chairpersons. One would come with the accusation, another came with counter-accusations, and there were a whole manner of very serious allegations that border on abuse of the procurement process, that border on financial malfeasance, among other abuses. And these were very important, and a petition in respect of that was duly petitioned to the president. And as per constitutional procedure, which is not the first time that constitutional procedure has been applied, the president referred it to the Chief Justice. In the wisdom of the Chief Justice, she made a determination to constitute an eminent committee chaired by a Supreme Court judge to investigate same. And that is to ensure that the...
Is that not why it is surprising that once we have a committee that is sitting, has been mandated by the Chief Justice to sit, then EOCO perhaps, in all wisdom and fairness, should let that committee do its work, because many of the issues you're talking about really kind of intertwine. Yeah,
Roland, fundamentally, that was the first point foremost that I established and I submitted, that so EOCO must be circumspect if they have any lawful or legitimate.
So it cannot preclude anybody from speculating. No,
but that
perhaps
that is clearly avoidable.
Government cannot say that it may not be unaware or is blind to.
Now specifically to the point I'm making, for anyone to suggest or to firmly assert that,
but let's move on and go to
Parliament.
The
government has
You've made that point. Let's move on to Parliament. You've made the point. Reverend Ntimfojo, you've made the point. Let's move on to the committee. Let's move on to the committee. That is looking at the cash for seats scandal. Reverend Ntimfojo, it's okay.
I have to make this point that
you have made the point that the MPP is not involved, government is not involved in any way.
To which hands anyone.
Granted. Please move on, sir. Move on.
Allegations to be heard.
Move on, sir.
So that propaganda.
You're a parliamentarian. Cash for seats scandal. What do you think?
Now the case is pending, the hearing, and
yes, well privy to it.
That are responding. I'm versed with all the facts regarding this issue, and right from the outset, I knew that there was no irregularity regarding the conduct.
And yesterday, Ashimoto, who is the president of the committee or the foundation, appeared.
Yes, and then he came to establish the fact that there was no such intention as the propaganda started from the beginning, that some monies were extorted, and cautiously the word that the propagandists sought to use was extortion. In the process of time, it was refined to levy and collection. You see, I think we have to appreciate that the electorates and the majority Ghanaians do not appreciate propaganda. They appreciate the bare facts. And at the completion of the work of this committee, all the facts will come to corroborate the position that there were no irregularities, there were no abuses, and Millennium Excellence Foundation is the organizer of the event, and the chairperson of the organization gave his hearing, gave his submissions yesterday, and if that is something to go by, it does not in any way suggest any irregularity. And I am pleased that the committee, the Speaker of Parliament granted the opportunity for Parliament to probe into this issue, to give the opportunity for all the bare facts to be pointed out. So in the end, the air will be cleared, the dust will settle, and the fact is established that just as the President cleared the Ministry of Trade and Industry, pending the information that he requested and he was given and he was seized with, subsequent to the hearing of the Committee of Parliament, it has also gone to corroborate and reaffirm the fact that there was no irregularity whatsoever.
And that's where we bring in a soundbite of the president of the Millennium Excellence Foundation, Mr. Morton, Ashim Morton now.
I was watching the presentation of the Honorable Minister of Trade and Industry, and he made a statement that 17 seats were on the high table. I'd like to make a small correction. When he mentioned all the names, he mentioned the former president and head of state, John Rawlings, and his wife. That is 2. So that makes that 18. Now, he did not mention our chairman, Ambassador Gbeho, and he did not mention Joe Mensah from Cosmos. So if you add those 2 with the former First Lady, it becomes 20.
So, Ibrahim Amalibas, have your bite.
You see, if you lie in the morning, you have to look for a new lie in the afternoon.
Where does this come from?
And then you look for another new lie in the evening. Why are you troubling yourself? Why don't you just speak the truth?
And you are referring to?
I'm referring to those who appeared before the committee, including Ashim Morton, to justify what they did. This matter would have ended if the ministry, together with the organizers, come out to say that we are sorry, we didn't know that what we're doing breached the laws. Why would you issue a government of Ghana receipt for a private person's activities?
Well, it's not the explanation of the Trade and Industry Minister that the foundation came to the ministry because they wanted some credibility on authentication and collaboration, and it's not going to be the first time, is it?
The question I want to ask is, this is not the first time the Millennium Challenge, the group is organizing these things. In the past,
well, true.
In the past, is that the way they were organizing it?
Well, they've always had government collaboration.
I'm saying that, is that the way they would organize with government?
But I'm saying they've always had government collaboration.
And government will be taking responsibility, using taxpayers' money, using room number 308, which is a public office, to be collecting monies for them.
What's wrong with that?
Everything is wrong.
If you have the ministry backing you, you want to make sure that once you have proposed to the ministry that, oh, I'm going to collect this and this from the awardees or those who are inviting to collect the award, and the ministry is adding its name to make sure that the process becomes credible, it has to be interested in how you collect the monies and how you keep them. Makes a lot of sense, don't you think?
That sends me to the Fees and Charges Act. That as a public, as a ministry, as a state institution, you cannot be collecting money from the private sector without Parliament. He's in Parliament, giving you that authority.
Let me come in.
So why are you taking that money, issuing government of Ghana receipts to cover for those money?
I've read the act. Now, it doesn't say that. It says when you're collecting and in the process when you're charging.
No, please, because he has made this reference.
Please, okay. You've had your bite. When you and this one you're not charging, are they?
They are not charging like what? When you ask people to go to room number 308 and deposit checks there, aren't you charging them?
No.
No, like what?
They are in for awards and they are complementing the awards by contributing to that.
But you know that even when this matter started, they said nobody paid money. Today, in that committee's hearing, we are now being told the money was paid. Bottom line, when they said that monies were not paid, today we know the monies have been paid.
No.
You heard the minister talk about 17 people. I'm talking about this discrepancy now. 17 people. Ashimotin says 20. Ashimotin, I want to find out from him. When there is a letter from the Ministry of Trade making reference to the President of Ghana, he says that the reference to President is to him. My elder brother Kosiprat asked a question. Who does he think he is? That people will pay money and come and sit by him? Is he made of gold? He's still insisting that the president, even though there's a letter, clearly, which letter says that the president of Ghana, from the ministry, he, Ashimotin, has gone before the committee after swearing an oath, is lying through his teeth that the president refers to him.
But he's the president of the Millennium Excellence Foundation.
I am saying that, contrary to what he's saying... He's
president of the Millennium Excellence Foundation, is he not?
He can even be president of his village. But I'm saying that there is a letter from the ministry, which letter from the ministry says that the president of Ghana, for God's sake, aren't you listening to me?
I'm listening.
He then comes and say, oh, as for the president, it refers to me.
But he's the president of the Millennium, and there's nothing wrong with that. The president in the letter, he says, of which he is the president of the foundation, refers to him. What's wrong with that?
And I'm saying that the ministry that he found it necessary to collaborate with, and the ministry that will give his activities credibility, that ministry that is giving his activities credibility is the ministry that is the president of Ghana. So are you challenging the ministry that is giving you your credibility? I think that, look, in this matter, what I am proposing, and I've seen from the way the committee is working, that there will be an attempt to cover up. My suggestion,
that's most unfair.
My suggestion,
you have
my suggestion is that
some of these submissions.
Please stop the interjections. I don't think it's fair. He can interject more than you.
My suggestion is that the two minority members in the committee could also write an opinion after the bigger committee has come out of its opinion.
Well, the committee has been constituted by the Speaker of Parliament of Ghana.
It is allowed. In court, you have minority opinion, and you still have.
It doesn't take precedence over the overall report of the committee.
Yeah, it doesn't take.
With all due respect.
Yeah, it doesn't take. But we need to know the truth of this matter. That's what I think.
Well, Reverend, whilst you add yours too, is there a position where perhaps the other side of the political divide, especially the minority and the minority chief whip and Okujeto Ablakwa, the member of parliament for his area, and perhaps seem to want a certain position, and perhaps looking and observing the proceedings so far, don't seem to have things going their way.
I must establish that it is very derogatory for the NDC, espoused by Mr. Amaliba, to preempt that the finding, even the
well, that's his opinion. He's entitled to that opinion, is he not?
He's speaking on behalf of NDC.
No.
If there's a disclaimer to that effect, then I will speak in respect of him. Now, it's very derogatory for Mr. Amaliba to sit here to suggest that, to even preempt that there will be an attempt to cover up the truth, and that the reports that will even come out will not be reflective of the truth, and even advising the two members from the minority to plan their own report. This goes to suggest a mischief that has been hinted, what they probably seek to do in the end. He's preempting that. You see, in all due respect, this is an institution of parliament, and a recall was called. The speaker granted that, irrespective of other irregularities and other competence of even the very motion, the very issues that were contained in the motion, the Speaker of Parliament granted it. Subsequent to that, even granted that a committee of Parliament be set, which comprises both minority and majority. We are following the hearing of the committee, and so far one would objectively observe that the process is going quite fairly.
Yes.
And so it is unfortunate for anyone to even preempt. In the first place, all the facts that are being submitted and presented before the committee go to establish the fact that there was no irregularity, and I must debunk an assertion made by Mr. Amaliba that the Ministry of Trade and Industry indulged in any abuse of law or irregularity. There was no irregularity, there was no law, there was abuse. This was clearly an arrangement, a PPP sort of arrangement between a ministry and a private entity that seeks to organize these awards that have been organized over the years, and they formed a partnership with clear
Reverend, at the heart of all this is
to supervise the organizing.
Yes.
Now, the Millennium Excellence Foundation have come to narrate all the parts and the roles they played, and then that clearly goes to exonerate the Ministry of Interior, Ministry of Trade and Industry of any wrongdoing, which the President has earlier on cleared. So, unless one is still interested in churning out some propaganda, then we may refrain from some of these assertions. Well, clearly it's unfortunate, and any attempt to even rope the Ministry of Trade and Industry and by extension the government into any act of irregularity or corruption has failed fundamentally. It's flawed, even right from the outset. And I would always maintain the view that minority ought to be very credible, and minority ought to be very effective as being a credible check on the majority. But so far, I have not seen minority, gaining those credibility. Their credibility is deteriorating by the day by some of these failed attempts to smear the government of non-existent wrongdoing. And I would patiently wait for the outcome of this committee's hearing, and we would discuss the report.
And we even have chairman of the foundation, Victor Gbeho, who is a prominent politician and a diplomat, saying that for his part, the foundation did not coax or levy any expatriate business to come up with sums of money to enable chief executive to sit next to the head of state. He said the foundation rather found voluntary sponsors to support the first-class event and did not engage in any cash for seats, nor did it indicate any expatriate businesses would be included if it did not sponsor. Now, for somebody of that great repute to even come to be part of the whole sitting of the committee speaks volumes about perhaps the credibility that he attached to the foundation and the event in itself.
You see, I'm saying that if witnesses go before the committee and they are lying, in my view, that's a cover-up. One of it is
in what position do you determine that what they were saying?
One of it is when Ashimorton still insists that the reference to president is to him.
You are not satisfied that because he's...
And I'm saying that they appear before the committee and they
but he's the president of the Millennium Excellence Foundation.
They appear before the committee and they cover up what the truth is. And that's why I'm saying that at the end of the day, we must have a minority view opinion on this matter.
It will come to nothing, what do you think?
No.
It will come to naught.
Let me tell you, the minority must have its say, and the majority must have its way. Then the citizenry will not take a position. But we are not saying that we are going to be able to overturn anything. No, we must have our say. Now you are talking about Victor Beho. Doesn't matter who is involved in this matter.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If wrong is done, it's done. If wrong is done by Kofi Annan, it's wrong. Today, aren't we criticizing the world's most powerful man in the world for making comments? Why didn't you say, oh, this is a man from the US? So let's know. If wrong is wrong, it's wrong. It doesn't matter who is behind the wrongdoing.
All right, let's move. Let's look at the last issue.
I think it's important.
3 persons were yesterday arrested for allegedly possessing objects believed to be explosives of varied species, varied types. I thought species refers to animals. Don't worry. Varied types at Agape Down near Blekuma and Kwashibu near La Paz, and apparently they were having in their possession 7 grenades. And I kept saying that the first time I saw them was in the Rambo movie back in the mid-80s, etc. But now we have them here. And let me start with you. It's it got me frightened a bit, because especially when you take your kids and your family to the the congregated places like the malls, you go have fun, and sometimes some of these things make entry into the country. Speak volumes about the lax in security.
It's worrying to hear this, but is this surprising? No. The whole sub-region is under the siege. The whole sub-region. Indeed, we are even lucky that we've not recorded what other countries have recorded. So it only tells us that as a nation, we should invest in intelligence gathering. And that has been my mantra, intelligence gathering. See, if terrorists come into this country, what they do is to recruit young boys who are jobless. And definitely, man must eat. They would willingly agree and engage in those acts. So what do? Our security agencies should also use the same boys. Normally when they come, they go to the ghettos. I mean the people who are engaged in these atrocities, and recruit people. Let's also use our security agencies, go down to the ghettos, recruit those same people. And I'm sure anybody, even in the ghetto, would prefer working for the state institution than working for the terrorists. That's how we gather information. Intelligence gathering. They will act as informants. Today, I've heard the police calling for people to assist them. You don't just do that. What you do is to have a deliberate policy to go down, and you must know how these terrorists operate. They come and rent hotels in suburbs that are hidden suburbs. So if you have intelligence gathering, it will help to nip this in the bud. But it is coming. What it simply shows us is that the terrorists are bringing the fight closer home. You say the last time you heard about grenades were in TV, on films. It's now live to you. Next is what? Explosion? God forbid. But if you have security agencies that will not go into the ground and be part of the system and begin to sniff out information, you only sit down to apprehend. If these things had gone out of the security people's watch, it would have been in the system. Who knows? It would have been this morning. So I think that intelligence gathering is key to nibbling this in the bud. If not, don't be surprised that these things are happening, because the whole sub-region is under siege.
It's very critical that this revelation has come up. It is also very important to commend the diligence of our security agencies for ensuring that this arrest was done, moving in on intelligence. And it is important that that tangent is sustained to ensure that if there are maybe other such similar arms that are in circulation or hidden in certain portions of the country, we heighten intelligence to ensure that immediately they are arrested. It is frightening, but I would want to assure the public that with the manner in which the police to contain the situation, we should maintain the trust in them to ensure that if there are others that are left, it is done. It is also worrying on the back of a report that was issued in October 2016 to the effect that 2.3 million small arms were in circulation in the country. That in ratio is about 10 people to 1 weapon. That was quite scary. And we are still expecting and hoping that some intelligence will be heightened to that effect, that the report as was given in October 2016, that 2.3 million small arms were estimated to be in circulation are dealt with, and swift moves are done to arrest same. One does not know the purpose for these arms, one does not know the purpose for these grenades, and one cannot preempt that it is terrorism. One cannot preempt that. I think the police is still under investigation to establish the purpose for which these were brought in. We recognize that terrorism is a sub-regional challenge, and terrorism is a global challenge that in global international relations, jurisdictions and sub-regions are dealing with. These are unconventional methods that some groups that have on some purposes use. But for now, it's early days yet. One may not be able to preempt the connection of terrorism with these weapons until we await further investigations by the police, and we'll be able to take informed decision on that. So kudos to the security agencies, and we rely on their intelligence and rely on their robust capacity to contain all such issues and to ensure that Ghana remains a peaceful country devoid of all such attacks. Ghana remains a very peaceful country that every citizen and everyone that is dwelling in here feels safe to dwell in, to do business, and to go about the activities without any fear, without any panic.
What are grenades used for? And my colleague here is saying that we don't know what it is going to be used for. It is too early to connect them to terrorism. What are grenades used for? If they are not in the hands of lawful security agencies, what else can they be used for?
They should not have any business.
Yeah, but they're in their private hands. Clearly,
grenades are used for so many purposes.
Are they in the lawful hands?
These are matters pending.
Are they in the lawful hands?
No, they are unlawful.
So if they are in unlawful hands,
there are other unconventional weapons.
So to sit here and say that we don't know what they are going to be used for.
In all circumspection,
I think that
I do not know what they are going to be used. If you have any knowledge of that, you may hint the police to aid the investigation.
Let me talk.
But for now, to be only wise and prudent, to allow the investigation to unravel.
Nobody's stampeding the investigation.
Yeah, the full purpose.
Nobody's
rather than preempting.
Yes, nobody's stampeding the investigation. Yes. What we are saying is that we found grenades and ammunition in the hands of persons who are not supposed to handle them. What possibly can they use it for? It's only one: to cause mayhem.
Yep.
And so, if we are beating about the bush and we are not nailing it will help to embolden some people. The police are aware that these things were seized from people who are not supposed to be handling them. Now, what are we supposed to be talking about? We're supposed to be talking about how the police can tighten security. But if you say you don't know what they're going to be used for, embellishing it, who doesn't know what these people are going to use it for?
Okay, you may know, but I do not think that you would have to, take my submission totally out of context. The first point I made was that it is important that the security intelligence. No, I'm being prudent and wise about it. The security intelligence is heightened about this.
You didn't say that.
I haven't mentioned you. I've not made reference to you. It's heightened in this, and ensure that any weapons or any unconventional issue
in the country.
I almost recognize that
people are worried.
Terrorism is a sub-regional challenge. It's a global challenge. It's become one of the.
It doesn't give us a sense of insecurity.
It's become,
because I'm worried.
It's become the #1 trending challenge in the international
circles.
Relations. Yeah.
So you don't say they don't know what they are going to use it for.
They want to bomb.
However, in respect of these
Please
ones,
wrap up.
one cannot. One is not debunking terrorism or any purpose.
What are they using for?
That will have to be investigated. That will have to be investigated, and that will even inform. That would even inform us. No, see, whether you know, you're a lawyer, whatever you know, let us wait for the law to take its course, and then the investigation is fully given. If there's any information you have that will aid the police in establishing the purpose, you may kindly do so. So it's very important.
Very handsome man.
I thought you would be talking about the president going about announcing reduction in electricity tariffs when he hasn't got the capacity.
That is very expected of you. That is very expected of you. Mr. Maliba, that is very expected of you.
In fact, we have deregulated. If the president is not aware that we have deregulated and we've handed over that to a state institution, he should stop going about telling people that.
But if it will happen, he has to say it.
I am saying that he's taking he doesn't know about separation of powers.
Who put it in the budget? The reduction of 14% tariffs. Who put it in the budget?
Doesn't the president know separation
of powers?
Are you aware who puts together the budget? Are you aware the budget is read by the finance minister on behalf of the president?
I should go and take the
Are you aware? Are you aware? Are you showing ignorance?
Legal practitioner.
Are you showing ignorance?
Lawyer.
Are you showing ignorance that you do not know that the budget?
Stop using words like ignorant. Reverend, the budget. Two handsome men. Talking about who will be handsome, let me tell you of a story of a 26-year-old hairdresser who was born male. Handsome male, but says that he, who is now a she, felt trapped in a female body or felt trapped in a male body. So she is now in a female body. Teaser.
I was a guy and I was caught by Prince, though, in Ghana. So one day I just wake up from bed and I called my grandmom and I was telling my grandmom that the way I am, I don't like it. When I go out, a kind of insult and stuff, people call me certain names that I don't like it. So I spoke with my grandmom, and my grandmom just asked me that, what am I going to do about it? So I just told my grandmom that I wanted to travel out to do one or two things, and maybe it's going to help me.